we need to understand that there are different types of convictions, and not every conviction is the same, and not every conviction is for someone else. So there are three types of conviction. There's a Holy Spirit conviction, a personal conviction, and then a soulful or a conviction of self. The Holy Spirit conviction is the purest, most beneficial conviction. It will never harm you, even if, for a moment you feel bad. It will be very fleeting. It'll be just like that. You will, whenever the Holy Spirit highlights what you're doing wrong, it's always from a place of we can do better. It's always with the solution mindset. A Holy Spirit conviction is the safest conviction, the purest conviction, always meant to build someone up. A personal conviction can come from the Holy Spirit or it can come from self. Typically, it'll come from self if your spirit has been edified and you don't need the Holy Spirit to tell you that's a sin, that's a sin, that's a sin. You just know by the Spirit, okay, that's a sin. I'm not going to do that. I don't need him to tell me. Or you'll even feel convicted to not even do something that's not necessarily a sin, but you know it can lead to sin. If you know that you have a temper and you can extend grace and just walk away from a situation, that's probably the better option. That's a self-conviction. Sorry, that's a personal conviction. If you have a personal conviction, it's a good thing. It can be a good thing, but where we can get into error is that we think a personal conviction we should hold other people to the same standard as our personal convictions. That is so flawed, and quite honestly, it can be manipulative. You can cause people to stumble. You'll put burdens on people that God himself is not worried about. Lastly is something called a soulful conviction, or a conviction from self conviction. This is when God hasn't spoken. This is your own thing that you have created, or someone else has told you and you just believed it or whatever, and you go along with it. And it's one thing if it's just at the level of belief, but it's one of those things that can get out of hand really quickly, because it's very easy for you to convince yourself in your soul, that's why it's called a soul conviction, that this is absolute truth. And then, just like the personal conviction, you tend to look at other people like, well, why don't you feel this way? Like, you're in error because I feel this way, and you should also feel this way. This can take on many forms, but probably one of the most common ones is that people think that God is so angry and wrathful, and he's coming for us and all that.